So my name is Himanish Goel. I'm a senior majoring in information systems with a certificate in human-centered design, graduating in August this year. So a lot of the times in terms of like personal interest, I got into the spirituality and meditation space just to kind of like put my foot forward and just trying to get a good sense of how does it all work. In terms of staying in the present, we tend to look at what we could achieve in the coming future and what we have not, and like kind of like regretting the past. And I feel like the present is extremely important because it helps us keep grounded as to like, okay, where are we going from this path, and just like elaborating ourself and like the voice that we want to portray within the present domains. And a lot of the times it helps you keep focused into like what goals you're trying to achieve in the coming future. So one of the ways that helps you keep focused in the present is like the third eye, which is right between the eyebrows in the middle of it, because it keeps you around the surroundings, and it helps you determine what you should be doing now and what's the end outcome out of it. So
yeah, do you have any experiences you want to share that comes with it?
In terms of like staying in the present?
Yes.
Yeah, so so I mean, one experience I guess I can mention about is whenever I was doing, summer courses, or whether I was in the art of living space, which is like throughout my high school journey, whenever I used to be at like an event outside of like the location that I currently live in, a lot of the times I used to get tensed about, oh, how am I going to get perceived in that scenario? How am I going to finish this, the work, or how am I going to kind of like just trying to always like make self judgments when you don't even know what the actual outcome is going to be. So a lot of the times in the plane, I used to do 1 year jive, and I used to just focus on the breath when it was leveling in terms of inhaling and exhaling, and even like connecting, because your whole body is made out of chakras. So kind of the hand, you can connect, you can feel the energy from your hand, from your head to the hand to like pretty much everywhere in the body. Like there's a lot of connection points that you can make within that space. So, whenever it was like doing the work, the coursework wise, or it was kind of getting myself prepared for a specific event, I would either use a Darth Vader voice, which is something like this. And this is kind of the throat chakra. So you're kind of sucking in all the air inside to just to have the energy stored in one place, and that can help you put it in all areas of your body, because those techniques helps heal you in places that when you're in anxiety or stress, or just like or just having to be presentable at a specific location.
And it helps with your mental health as well. Yeah, staying in the present, because if you kind of regret on what happened in the past, you might not achieve your goals for the future. And if you keep on thinking about the future, you won't enjoy what's in there in the present, and the opportunities that are available in the present, you miss out on them. That's why it's important to be aware of what's happening around you within this specific moment, because there are certain circumstances that might help you with your goals at present itself.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when a student goes through each stage of school, they're going to the university, or whether they're in the workforce, or just trying to find a career path, it helps you find it helps guide you to your next big stage in life. And so that way it helps you find the area that will which will be the best fit for you. So a lot of the times when I hear folks saying that they're not able to figure out what they want to do in life or whatnot, this helps in terms of guiding your career path pretty much as well.
And also like meditation as well, right? Because you learn how to concentrate, you learn how to focus.
Yep, that's true. Pretty much anything around the spirituality medium, whether it's you're doing poses to kind of build the energy within the soul, or just using your own breath to heal you. Because even a lot of the times I've heard folks, like individuals who've been doing it for a longer period of time, they'll use the outside nature to heal their body. So like there's something called Reiki. So in Reiki, this is something where the person comes and gives an appointment, and they do all the healing for you for that specific for that day. It's by like a day basis. So you're not kind of doing the work; the other person is doing the work for you. And so when a lot of the times, since you're using all the energy, that person who's kind of releasing all that stress, she has to get the energy from somewhere, and the outside nature can help heal and can help give you energy in ways that you've not thought of before. So that's also another way that folks tend to do it. Like they'll just sit outside next where it's like either windy or there's a sun glazing through. And that's also another way to lift your spirits as well.
So what can you tell the people who are like facing mental health issues during this pandemic?
Mental and health, you said?
No, mental health issues, like trying to focus. Yeah.
So in terms of mental health, when you're having to focus, a lot of folks say that we want to develop a third eye because that keeps you grounded and doesn't waver your thoughts. One thing I like to say, one thing I recommend is if you're any sort of puzzle that you can do, or something that you can you don't know how to wrap yourself around. There's a saying where like the picture cards help you if you just for 5 minutes take if you have like a memory game of some sort. If you try to figure out the pieces by just putting on the head, anything that you're wanting to image or visualize in terms of just focusing on a specific thing, if you put it on like around here, like whether, I'm not saying like put paper on there, but how do I put it? Like kind of doing a puzzle before you start your work. And if you're just putting each image at the top of the forehead so that you can kind of narrow down your focus, that somehow helps, because you're kind of letting the mind do the work. That you're letting the brain do the work, not the mind, because the mind's a distraction that helps us go like, why are you doing the math? Why are you doing the math paper? Why don't you just go on like YouTube and start surfing on through like content over there? So it doesn't help waver the mind when you visualize something without having it being open. That's what I've noticed. And it would have to be like placed you would have to place every visualization piece at the top of the forehead, so it's focused on a specific scenario. But even listening to like focus music or using the Ujjayi breath, I'm trying to think of other, like there's only so many options that you can do for opening third eye to help you focus. But if you just wanted to like do day-to-day techniques, then I think just just kind of putting your state where you're not getting distracted by the if you're someone who knows that if you open the computer you're going to get distracted, and if the work can be done on paper, then kind of making that adjustment I don't know if that really helped. So
So you talked about the third eye and chakras. I want you to explain what are they and and how useful are they for each human.
So like, so like, so like, explain the chakras or like just the third eye in general.
Third eye and the
specifically.
chakras, as like specifically.
So there is
Or pineal gland. Third eye or pineal gland.
Okay. So in terms of chakras, they're like specific names that you call them out as, which I don't remember at the moment, but there's one in the middle of, there's one at the top of your head, which is kind of controlling the main area, which is like helping you think as just helping you think and analyze the problem. And there's one right, there's one right in the so one at the top of the head, one in the middle between the eyebrows, which is like the third eye, which is where all like
the crown chakra, the third eye,
the third eye, and that helps you focus, be aware of your surroundings, kind of like having someone to navigate you. And then no, it's not. I think it's the throat. So the throat one, that one is for folks that cannot project their voice. You'll see individuals who won't want to kind of they have a hard time projecting it out. So this is another chakra that I've seen a lot of folks have a problem with. Then there's one. Then there's like one in the middle of your chest, which is kind of, there's one in the middle of your chest and one in like at your stomach, where the stomach one is where everything's getting processed. Like it's kind of like the soul, which is keeping everything in place and kind of it's where all the energy, the core of the energy is.
Okay.
This is kind of chest is the one that's, how do I put it? It's because there's one over here, one in like the middle, and there's one at like the bottom at the navel. And the navel one is where everything's getting processed and it's letting go. It's kind of making the system clear, trying to process the bad. When your stomach is clear, it makes your mind chakra open. When it's very stuffy, it makes everything else. It makes the whole system. Yeah, I'd like to tell folks that the chakras from your chest to your navel, those are the most important ones, because that is that it doesn't control it, but that's what helps, keep everything in a line, because one's processing it, one's giving the energy, and I forgot what the chest one does, but I don't know if it's really energy. I don't remember what the chest one does, but there's one right there, all the toxins and all the where all the good versus bad, that's where all the dirt, or just all the what's the word I'm trying to every chakra, someone or the other has a specific problem with, in a chakra, whether it's the throat, the mind, the third eye. And so the root one, that's what makes the system clean, because it's letting everything out. So that is also pretty important, because that's what's letting go and keeping all the chakra kind of following the processing.
You have the root, sacral plexus, and then you have the heart chakras, then you have the throat and third eye and crown. So you were going through it, and you talked about the root chakra. Yeah, that balances probably everything that's happening in the mind.
Yeah, whatever's being letting out of the system, that's what keeps the third eye or the mind or even the throat chakra in a line, because these three chakras all depend on whether it's getting out through the system. If you're from the middle of like below your chest, and the chakra from below the chest to like all the way between the legs, if that's not clear, it becomes hard for the throat. It becomes hard to present it through the throat chakra or even like the mind chakra, because it's all sitting in there in the stomach, and so it's not letting go. It's not letting the system go through its process of a step ahead and not staying where they're currently in line with. So
yeah, I feel like I know that that happens a lot, and it's so difficult. Why is it so difficult to not to concentrate on the present?
well, because our mind lets us waver around like what's going to happen in the coming years, and why did we do this in the past times. One of the big key contributors that I've noticed, which helps us not grow in the current state, is our words. A lot of the times we tend to use, I hope I can do this in the coming future, like whatever the sentence might end with, or I wish I didn't do that. And so just those words, when you're saying that, when it goes back to the universe, there's nothing getting implemented, because they're saying, the universe is like, he's not saying that I am going to do it, or like he's not using something within the present tense format. You know how like in like the English vocab, there's present, future, and past tense words, and we tend to focus on the past and future tense and not like where we are currently. And so that's why if there's an area that we want to grow in, we tend to regret what we've done previously and tend to worry about the future that we never get to. We never get to achieve what we want in the current times. So that's it. It's one on the mind. Sometimes it's the words, just like the way you kind of yourself, and yeah, it's a mixture of things, and it can depend. A lot of times it's either you're focused on on like an issue or situation that happened that also distracts the mind from like focusing in the present. So yeah, it's the majority of it is the present and past tense. So
Yeah, but like I don't think like it's only based on words. I think it's the way we talk to ourselves, the way we think of ourselves, and it's the way that other, like especially the people around us, do have a part to play in it. And it's like if their opinion of ourselves matter than our own opinion of ourselves. And I think that's one of the contributors to why we won't stay in the present, and we're constantly longing for something we don't have, something we don't have in order to feel better. And I think that a lot of the time when that happens, we have to constantly like remind ourselves that we don't need this stuff in order to be happy and stuff like this. And I think in order to be in the present moment, you have to have this sort of inner happiness. And if that is not there, you will constantly long for some things, and even you will long for even people sometimes of the past as well. And when it comes to the future, you're always anxious about what's going to happen next for some people. Why is that happening? Because they feel less about themselves than how they should be. Or how else would you kind of place that situation?
when they're feeling less about themselves, like
Yes.
not like like they're not able to achieve anything. Well, it eh, no, as humans, we tend to have we have like a platter of emotions, whether we don't feel like we're getting what we want, or we feel like we're not on the right track, or it's just something around the fact of we don't see a future aligned for us. When you just are asking for, when you end up asking for help, like how can I get into this space, or how can I help myself, when someone gives the advice of using spirituality and meditation to your advantage, I tell my clients that you have to believe in it, because if you don't believe in it, it becomes really hard from my side to kind of help you like see the advantages, or like the pros of it, of like how it's going to help you with like the coming state. Because one is the belief, and the second is the persistence, which allows you to get out of that hole. Everyone's digging out of some type of graveyard that they're trying to achieve, like whether it's loneliness, or whether it's depression, or it's just they don't feel word to them. It's like an attack. It's like there's an addiction that they were in, and you're getting them out of that. And so they'll come across, rude, or not as friendly. So I like to say that you anything you do, or whatever trap you're trying to get out of, you have to believe and be persistent enough to be at it. Whether it's the Headspace or Calm app, or you don't have the money to pay for those, or you're just doing it through YouTube, you have to be like, okay, I'm just doing this for 10 minutes. And you have to, I've seen folks, they'll have a checklist not to get distracted by Instagram. They'll set an hour for themselves, like screen limit feature, where it just lets 15 minutes or 20 minutes, because it's like anything, whether you're working out, whether you're on social media, you want to do it less than an hour, because that once you do more than an hour, you've already hit the addiction phase, just like how millions of other people are in. So I don't know if that helped in terms of the answer.
It's like social media is a kind of addiction. I don't think it like helps you stay in the present, because you're always thinking about another person's life. You're thinking about other people's kind of things, what they post, their good times and stuff like this. And you think to yourself, like, why isn't my life that good enough? But you just don't see the bad side of everybody else's life. Nobody wants the bad stuff of their life to be on social media. No, it's only the good side. So this is why so this is why I think it's kind of useless spending more like even spending more than 10 minutes scrolling down Instagram or even Facebook, unless you're trying to actually do something for your company or use
like a business.
Media.
And that was a good point you mentioned. You'll never see anyone put bad times that are happening in their house on Instagram, on Snapchat, or Facebook. They always try to highlight the positive moments. But I'm pretty sure if you message that person and you ask them something, everyone's life is as normal. No one is not everyone's a celebrity, and even celebrity lives are extremely lonely, because it's all about you. It depends from person to person, but there is a whole argument against how social media helps and it doesn't. There's several folks who've actually got their name out pretty nicely, like Superwoman or like Dude Perfect or whoever it is, and it helps in way of making income or putting your brand out there. But if you're doing it for other reasons, it's not as helpful in that. If it's just for your personal account, I like to tell individuals, even I didn't even know, like, I never used to think that this would become a thing where taking a photo of your food before you eat, saying like, this is what I have, is like the whole new trend. They want you to put all your photos of what you're doing in your entire life. That's their game plan. That's what they're told to do. That's what they want. They want people to put out, what they're doing, put stories just
Actually,
as
nobody
much.
knows what I'm doing. Actually, nobody knows except for my business work,
Yeah.
and probably when I'm trying to teach some lessons in life.
Yeah.
Other than
So,
that, nobody knows about my life, and that's where and every time I'm writing stuff, I'm definitely writing stuff for my brand. I'm typing stuff for my brand, for the stories and stuff like this. But other than that, I don't use social media that often, because I know these things that it's actually highly toxic if you get addicted to it.
yeah, and it's kind of, I don't, it is kind of like a small little drug that's playing with your mind. It is kind of like that, because it's like a casino, except all through AI and machine learning. So, that, and a lot of the even for like millennials today, the whole fact of like discipline of how, right now, like in the older times, if you wanted to improve the grammar, you had to read books, you had to continuously write in order to get better with it. Now you see platforms like Grammarly, which is doing the job for you. So you're not actually having to think. And I think, and that might be one of the reasons why everything is offered on like a plate, because we have Google or whatnot, that there's no mindset growth. Like I remember, like in the older days, everything was had to be done by hand, and so
Yes.
you would learn a lot for that. And the saying was, the more you go outside, the more you'll understand. Like I still remember, like 5 p.m. after, it used to be go outside, play with your friends, do something that gets you the fresh oxygen. And you would never, it was a very low rate of depression cases in like the 2000s era. Now you see video games being like a sport. Like I never thought of that as being a thing. Like now you see people making like millions out of video games, and brands like Twitch and whatnot have become extremely huge. And now break time has started to become less going outside and more online addicting, which, that's a whole nother sector, because I mean, yeah, I don't know what, that's my viewpoint, kind of. So
Yes, because like even I was born in the 90s, so coming from that kind of perspective, I would say that I was so lucky, because we didn't have devices back then. We weren't we weren't constantly with our phone. Probably we had this Motorola kind of flip phone at that
flip phone, right?
yeah, and it's only used to call people or text people, and that was it.
And the texting was pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
You would not be able to message, right? Because I think it was in the 2000s, the flip phone, like Verizon, you had to pull out the antenna cable so you could connect around the area that you were at. So unless you didn't pull out the antenna cable of the flip that you had, you would not be able to get the connection. And a lot of the times there used to be disruptions to the calls. So you'd be better off either meeting the person in person, or using like the landline. That time there was not advanced growth to like what it is now.
Yeah,
So.
and I think I'm still used to the past, because every time I cook a meal or every time I go to a restaurant, I don't take the picture of the meal. I just eat it straight away. And then after that, I remember afterwards that I'm supposed to actually take the picture before eating it.
Right.
And yeah. And so, yeah, but when my foreign friends do it, I remember to take the picture. But if I'm alone, I 100% of the time forget to take the picture.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like folks who were born in the 2000s before era, like there are some individuals who've got extremely addicted to social media that they've not been able to like cut out personal and outside and screen time life. But the ones who have been able to put that, like, okay, we have a time limit. Like I have the screen limit feature through my device, because that helps me keep filter that, okay, I'm there 15 minutes and it closes automatically for me. And there are folks who just, that screen limit feature that Apple devices have, that's something that scares the hell out of people because they can't imagine themselves being on the phone for hours, but you don't know because time passes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, and one thing that I've noticed because of social, just the online presence, keeping the mind distracted, or allowing you to do things that you've never thought of before. If there's like a campaign or political thing going on, or like a game, like where you have to drink alcohol and it kind of like in a party environment,
Yeah.
it's like a puppet show going in your head, because it'll make you do the things that you never thought of doing before. Like you'll see folks going like, support this campaign, and social media will drag them there. That's how Facebook and Trump and all those factors came into play. So, it's definitely a scary time with online presence. And a lot of the times, because you get so sucked into the digital world, it becomes hard to keep yourself mentally stable. That's why the demand for psychology has tremendously increased. You see people becoming psychologists all the time. So, yeah.
And also because of the education system, like if you are going to, if you get selected to do one of the most hardest courses in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's also, you need psychologists for that as well, because everybody's like so focused on being so perfect and performing perfect for themselves, as well as their parents, and kind of because of sort of the culture. And it depends on the culture and where they came from, and obviously they have this kind of mentality that you have to be perfect and have this sort of status. And during the course of their lives, when they're trying to achieve that status, there is they might face issues.
Yeah, that was another good point you put on there, which was everyone's trying to be perfect in today's world. There's no, as humans, we tend to make a lot of errors. That's why we've had oil spills. That's why we've had electrical issues or whatever. There's always a human error, and the mistakes are what help us learn. But because of the online presence, that does not get regarded. When we make a mistake, it's like the end of the world at that point. And so that's something which shouldn't really be taken so seriously, because you're gonna make, and they feel like, in a lot of the times, the answers from millennial sides, they'll be like, we made the mistake because of the content not being right. But they don't know that it's the digital side that's controlling it. Like I did a research paper on the whole digital side of like how it really does drain you and all your energy, that because of that, just getting to know someone has started to become hard, because it takes a long time to develop the relationships. Like in the older times, you would just find someone on the street across, or someone knew someone. There was the value for relationships. Now it's like you don't see that anywhere.
Yeah.
And that, and I also, what did I find? Yeah, the design one attracts the eye. It has us look at things that we've never seen from a different angle before. And designers, a lot of designers are not as sucked into the digital medium space, because they're creators, they're builders. So they're always trying to make a visual representation, and folks who are designers like to be outside a majority of the time. But folks who are engineers, or what else, individuals in the technology space, or even like something where like AI or machine learning, around those sectors, you'll see that they're always wanting to stay inside. Whether if they're like a 9-to-5 job in terms of coding, after that, their free time is gaming. A lot of coders love gaming. A lot of designers love to go outside. And you'll sometimes it's also the profession that helps that puts you addicted to the platform. So that's, I don't know if that made sense or not, but
that does actually, because some people actually get paid to play games, which I don't understand. I don't know, like some people get paid to play for Call of Duty, and I don't get that. But it's actually like a job also.
right. It's all about the testing and production side, the trying to see if it works. They're getting paid for that because that's allowing the gaming company to understand where the flaws in, like, how can we make this better to engage more of an audience, kind of a thing. So yes, I mean, it's, the digital space obviously has, there is a lot of the negative aspects to it, but in some ways it's helped us allow us to do our work more efficiently. Before that, everything was through paper. And so now now you have the accessibility to do it through like a Word document. So in those ways it's helped, but in other ways it's created quite some problems for today's generation.
It has definitely made society so lethargic, and and as a result, they stopped like loving themselves. That they started looking for other methods of approval to actually, like themselves. And I think that's also a factor in why people are not so grounded in the present moment, because they are constantly looking for someone else's approval of them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There are folks who are extremely focused on their craft. They don't even look at the online presence as like their main goal. But folks who are trying to find a filter to get their mind off of work, you'll see the work will be done for like either from like the 9 to 5 aspect or less. And a majority of the time will be spent on the social media aspect, because that's what's more attractive, because it's more easier. You understand. Why is it always that when it comes to learning a new skill, that takes longer than for a millennial to understand a social media platform? It takes less than a week for a kid at the age of 15 to understand how Instagram works, versus how do you create to like what's something challenging to like understanding the calculus textbook. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to compare at. In terms of the knowledge wise, we tend to say, yeah, we'll eventually get there, and it takes longer to understand that for today's millennials versus the social media aspect. And I think
over calculus.
Yeah, today, even there are jobs which are literally like social media, where they actually getting paid to maintain the social media of that company. And it's like, I can't imagine what is it going to be as the years come to be, because eventually the coding jobs are going to be taken over the robots, because that's all algorithmic based. The only jobs that are going to be left are the design ones, because robots can't think outside of the box. Only humans can. That's where storytelling comes into, and that's how hooking your audience comes into the play.
So I mean, like, society now is kind of moving further away from spirituality compared to before.
Yeah, that's true.
And as a result, they have a lot of mental health issues now than before.
Yep, the lot of the
quest for happiness isn't so easy to find.
Yeah, it's not as easy. I remember let's go back like 1998, that time, just making food for someone or going on a bicycle ride or even I mean, depending on where depending on where you're at, you try to find the resources to keep yourself active and engaged. If you're in India, right, and you're living in like the rural sector, just going to the plants and taking a corn to eat or whatever the circumstance might be, that was the life. You're going out bicycling, you came at a certain time, you were responsible because you had to do things by yourself. Everyone had a share of the work. Now, everything is depending from family to family, or not all families are like this, but some, it's like the kids don't help anymore because they're all on their phones now. And so they don't know as parents say that, you're going to eventually have to do this work. It's like the happiness out of making food at home and understanding that to save money, you have to make food at home is like thrown out of the window. You see a lot of folks literally buying outside all the time. That's why there's so many shops and restaurants wherever you go. You'll like quick food, like they're healthy quick food options, and there's like the opposite side of that. And so everything has become so accessible that not everyone, but some folks, it's made a bit more lazy. Let's put it like that. There was nothing like that in the previous days. You were constantly working. You came back from work, you were constantly working in that environment. So it's a totally different generation we live in. And the increasement of having a side, of having like a pet to calm them down or to keep them out of their, to keep them out of feeling depression has tremendously increased. The demand for dogs and cats have shot up in terms of, I'm trying to figure out the best way to like word it.
Yes.
When you're in the constant state of depression, you tend to want a side partner. And a lot of the times, older times, when you used to not be in a good mood, you used to go to a friend's house, have something, talk to them, and you'd take out all of your stress and anxiety to someone close to you. Now, people are taking all their stress and anxiety on pets who can't talk. Cats and animals. And it's like, I can't imagine that if humans can't get along now, and depending on some folks, it's gone. That's where the trends started to be. How is it gonna, what is it gonna look like in the future? Because right now, there are a lot of folks who are extremely lonely because they don't have someone to talk to. Because as humans, when we talk it out with someone, it tends to have us feel grounded, but also
we have a positive effect, a healing kind of effect when you talk to people about your situation.
There's a lot of folks who are struggling to either put themselves out there or even just trying to tell their part of the story. Storytelling has become something which is extremely afraid that just presenting ourselves in a certain manner is also scarier. When there's presentation or public speaking, a lot of folks are quite hesitant because they don't know what story to tell. They're not either talking as much or they're just within their own bubble. And so it becomes hard for them to project what their ideas or thoughts are. There are a lot of folks where you'll see them when they're like a kid at 5. And, when you're a 5-year-old kid, you have no memory of the future or the past. And because you're just staying in the current moment, you're just laughing it away. You're just drawing it away. You're just doing whatever you want in the current moment. When you're like little kids, they will do things now. They never say, I hope I get to do this. Or I won't do this. They'll be like, I want to get this now. I will do this. I will do that. Because they're in the present state. They want to enjoy where they are currently. As we get older, as responsibilities and stress increases, we tend to think of, just starting from high school, the whole sector of, I remember in the old days, the breaks that would come in terms of studying was, oh, let's go take a quick snack as a group together, or let's go do this as a group together. Now it's like the breaks are, let me just sit on Twitter for 5 minutes. An hour later, it's like you don't even remember what you studied after that. And so you feel like your mind, you tends to forget a lot of things, but you don't have memory issues.
Yes.
You're not putting yourself out there. That's causing you to stay in the state of depression. So that's also a huge trajectory that I've seen in terms of just having to constantly think about the future. It doesn't help, because what's going to happen, that's going to end up happening. You don't have the control of, you only have control of your emotions and what you can do and how hard you can work. Everything else, like in terms of luck or, we want to get in one thing that's also there is, when you're in high school, everyone tends to aim for like the biggest achievement, that we want to go into this, we want to just go into like Ivy League schools. And so if that demand is not met,
like competition, there's a heightened level of competition.
Yeah, competition is also something like that one kills the personality, which there is going to be competition, but the competition has got extremely bad that it can get ugly through digital media. And so I don't know if you've seen, when we're students within the age of 12 to 18, we tend to worry about how we present ourselves. It's all about presentation. If there's someone who's extremely thin, we'll tend to talk to that crowd. Someone who's extreme, who has a bit of like just like body image, I think you get what I'm talking about. Yes. So we tend to identify ourselves through our body language and just like looks wise, and we feel like people judge us based off that when we're like in our pre-teen years or teenager years. As we get older, that's something that goes away, but that happened to social media. When in the previous life, I used to remember there used to be bullying, but we would never think about our image at that time. We just used to be like, okay, we're going to be doing this. We'll just focus on the thing. It was a community effort. Now it's like everyone is like at battle at each other. It's like Russia going against USA and USA going after like Europe. So I don't know if that made sense.
Yes, it did. Like a lot of the people are this way for some reason. I think it's because of what they have gotten used to. Like when we were kids, we were kind of bullied for kind of being the nerd. And when you come out of school, you find out that being the nerd was actually something to be proud of, not to be, because you're actually constantly concentrating on your goals and achievements, and you make yourself a better person, and you get the job, you get the education you want, and then after that you start being someone in your life. And when you meet your bullies at the end of the day, they're actually doing way bad than you. And you look at them and then you're like, it shouldn't be like this. We should be helping each other. We should be, the image is completely distorted from when we were kids till now. And some people only,
so
some people only learn that like after they graduate from school.
Yeah, they only, lot, there's a lot that plays on the picture, and we understand sometimes after graduate school, there are folks who grow up once at the age of 40. There's folks who grow up at the age of 15. There are folks who grow up at the age of 22. So it's like there's no like specific, before that you could say that, okay, by 18 he understands what he's going to do. I look at folks traveling internationally from areas like Europe, India, wherever it is, to study in the US, and they're more responsible than what folks in the US itself, like they know how to do all the basic principles of life. That's one of the reasons they're able to accomplish a side goal of theirs or something else that's on. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely people within the US who have that skill, who have like a fire inside them, but there's some folks who just don't. And it's like the battle between figuring out which ones don't want to do the work to the ones who do has become really hard for companies to identify. That's why a lot of the times it's like students are just focused on another route, and they're just not as focused on the work than it was before. And there's no discipline to just sit within that 9-to-5 chair and just focus on what you're doing. Social media becomes the new thing of like break time or whatnot. I feel like if there's anything that the audience should take away from this, it's have your goals, but don't be so hard to just achieve them, because a lot of the times what we think is the best option might not always be the best option. You see folks who want to go to the NFL and they go to somewhere else. So being open to options and having the motivation and just the belief that you will get somewhere, because the more we tend to think of the future, we're not living where we are presently. And so I feel like forget the past, forget the future, because as we keep working, we end up going somewhere. I feel like that's like the main key takeaway out of this. And just
especially during the pandemic, since people are wondering when the pandemic will be over, when they can go out and have a normal life like before. But I think it's best to take from this time, because you're alone, and this is the time to be spiritual. This is the time to be grounded. This is the time, because you won't ever get a time like this again, maybe after 10-20 years when there's another pandemic.
Right. Yeah. You won't get the time that we got within 2020, 2021. And I felt like the pandemic was a good way for folks to self-reflect on themselves. And I feel like as long as you're falling forward and hitting something and improving and growing from that obstacle, you're good to go. The day you decide to fall back, that's when you're all just sitting on the chair and not going towards growth. So, yep. In folks who found this like inspiring or feel like they want to follow me anywhere, like in terms of social media content, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Reddit. I created like a personal photography portfolio page when I was in the beginning years of my university years. So it's called 3G Photos and Videos, and you can find it on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, those are the mediums that you can find me active in, like at certain points of time.
Okay. So thank you for joining us. And if you want to talk about more topics, you can always email me. And yeah,
sure thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure talking to you. And